She just watches as the color drains from Ethan's face. Not in horror, not in regret, but with the same calm you'd have watching a souffle sink in the oven. Because this is the inevitable. The coffee mug is still warm in his hand. Her coffee is sitting untouched on the counter. Black, no sugar, because she has no sweet tooth for herself, only for other people's endings. Is something wrong? He asks, voice already carrying that thin edge of fear. Wrong? Oh, honey, we passed wrong about 10 exits ago. Drink your coffee, she says. He stares at her like she's the one who's lost her mind, which, in fairness, she has. But not in the way he thinks. Not the crazy wife who suspects every shadow kind of madness. No, Maya Reed was the kind of woman who trusted her husband so much she would have bet her own life on him. Until her friends placed that bet for her. She takes a sip from her own cup. Bitter. The taste of the past 3 weeks. It started with wine. Wine and the kind of conversation that only happens when 4 women have decided that their combined opinions on men are basically gospel. On one end of the table, you had Camille, married twice, divorced twice, and deeply convinced that all men were walking lies in human form. Faithful husbands are like unicorns, she said, swirling her glass. You might want to believe they exist, but you'll die never seeing one. Beside her sat Jenna, married once, cheated on once, still holding on to the hopeful, tattered belief that some men might be faithful. Just because my husband wasn't, doesn't mean yours isn't, she told Maya. Then there was Lila, single, 39, and pretending to be totally fine with it. She laughed at marriage jokes a little too loudly and claimed weddings made her gag. Secretly, every bouquet toss was a small personal tragedy. And finally, Maya, happily married to Ethan. Handsome, attentive, the kind of husband who still brought her coffee in bed. She trusted him completely. Which is exactly why Camille's idea was so ridiculous. Let's test him, Camille said, eyes glittering. Maya laughed. Test him? What is this, high school? High school, marriage, same principle, Camille replied. We hire someone, a professional, see if he takes the bait. It should have been dismissed right there. But wine is persuasive, and so is the collective energy of 3 women convinced they're doing you a favor. Jenna leaned in. Think of it as insurance. He passes, you get bragging rights forever. Lila smirked. He fails, you find out before you waste more years. Against every ounce of her better judgment, Maya agreed. The prostitute was named Sasha, though Maya doubted that was her real name. She was stunning, tall, sleek, the kind of woman who could make a priest reconsider his vows. The setup was simple. Maya would be out of town, Ethan would go to his usual gym, and Sasha would bump into him afterward, playing the role of a stranded woman who just needed a ride. For 2 weeks, Maya made herself scarce. She even cut intimacy with Ethan, just to make the bait more tempting. The result, nothing. No missed calls, no shady texts. Ethan came home every night, kissed her cheek, and asked how her day was. Sasha later confirmed it. He didn't bite, didn't even nibble. Camille, of course, was annoyed. Fluke, she said. Everyone has a type. Maybe we just didn't get his. This is the part Maya would replay in her head later, over and over, trying to find the moment where she could have stopped the avalanche. 2 nights after Ethan's flawless pass, Camille called her. I've got proof, she said, voice sharp with triumph. Proof? Maya hadn't even known there was a second test. When Camille showed her the photos, it felt like being punched in the lungs. Ethan, naked, in bed, with a brunette who definitely wasn't her. The angle, the lighting, the detail. It all screamed real. Camille was matter of fact. Men are actors. He just didn't cheat with your girl. He found his own. Maya wanted to vomit, wanted to smash the phone, wanted to believe there was some mistake, but the images were too clear, too damning. From that moment, something in her cracked. Poison is patient, that's why she chose it. Every morning for a week, she stirred just a little into his coffee, never enough to kill him outright, just enough to make him tired, sick, weak. She told herself she was giving him time to confess, but he never did. He just smiled, kissed her cheek, and thanked her for taking care of him. By the 7th day, she was done waiting. He takes another sip of coffee. She watches his throat work as he swallows. Maya, he says finally, what's going on? You've been different lately. She tilts her head. Different how? More attentive? He frowns. You're scaring me. Good. There's a silence thick enough to choke on. And then it begins. The subtle twitch in his hands, the way his breathing changes. He blinks hard, like the room is tilting. Maya! His voice is hoarse now. I don't feel... She stands, picks up his empty mug and takes it to the sink. You look tired, love. Why don't you sit down? His knees give out before he can answer. And as he hits the floor, gasping, she leans down and whispers, not with rage, but with the cold satisfaction of a verdict finally delivered. She was right, Camille, about unicorns. His eyes widen in confusion. Then they start to close. Ethan's eyes flutter, his breath ragged. For one suspended second, Maya just stares at him, memorizing this image, filing it away like a final chapter you're sure you'll never reread, but still can't bring yourself to close. And then, silence. No groan, no gasp. Just the heavy, still kind of silence that makes you aware of every clock tick, every hum of the fridge. She doesn't cry. She thought she would. She thought there'd be at least a little sobbing to seal the moment. But all she feels is a strange, hollow victory. And then the doorbell rings. Because life never lets you have your movie ending without interruption. It's Lila. No makeup, messy bun, holding a tote bag like it's a lifeline. Maya opens the door just enough to block the view of Ethan sprawled on the living room floor. You look pale, Lila says. Are you okay? Maya forces a smile. Peachy. Lila hesitates. I shouldn't be here, but I need to tell you something before Camille twists it. Something cold flickers in Maya's stomach. Before Camille, what? Lila leans closer, whispering like the hallway has ears. That second test? The photos? Ethan never cheated. Camille paid a different prostitute. She staged it, photoshopped the rest. I overheard her bragging to Jenna last night about how she'd finally cracked the perfect marriage. The words hit harder than the pictures ever did. Maya's pulse starts in her ears. She said you'd thank her one day, Lila adds quietly, that it was a mercy. Back inside, Maya looks at Ethan's body. And for the first time in weeks, her heart doesn't feel cold. It feels scorched. She wants to scream. She wants to reverse time, pour every drop of coffee back into the tin, tell him everything, and watch him laugh at the absurdity of it all. But you can't reverse poison. And you can't unmake a widow. Camille answers her phone on the second ring. Well, look who... Can you come over? Maya interrupts, voice steady. A beat of suspicion, then, sure, what's wrong? You were right, Maya says, about unicorns. 15 minutes later, Camille's at her door, all perfume and smugness. She steps inside, not noticing the absence of Ethan, not noticing the new weight in Maya's hands. A wine bottle, uncorked, already poured into 2 glasses. They drink. Camille talks. Of course she talks. About how hard truths are better than comfortable lies. About how she saved Maya years of future heartbreak. Halfway through her second glass, Camille frowns. This tastes funny. Maya smiles. You're just not used to it. Used to what? The truth. It doesn't take long. Poison is patient, but it's also efficient when it wants to be. Camille's voice slurs, her hand knocks over her glass, crimson bleeding into the rug. She stares up at Maya, confusion replacing the smugness. You... did... Drink up, Camille. You wouldn't want to die thirsty. Her body goes slack. 2 days later, the police arrive. They have questions about Ethan, about Camille, about the traces of a certain compound found in both bodies. Maya doesn't run, doesn't beg. In the interrogation room, the detective leans forward. Why'd you do it? Maya tilts her head, the faintest of smiles tugging at her lips. Because sometimes, she says, the only thing worse than a lie is believing it. They lead her away in cuffs. And for the first time since Ethan's death, she finally feels something close to peace. Because in the twisted ledger of her heart, the debts have been paid in full.